Welcome to the panel, where smart founders discuss the realities of building better products and a better life. I'm Justin Jackson, the co-founder of Transistor.fm.
I'm Brian Castle, and I'm about to launch Instrumental Components.
Yes, very soon. And for this episode, we decided to just have a little catch up between Brian and I.
Our panels have been going from 4 people down to 3 people, and then now we're on 2 people.
And, we'll do some more with 3 and 4, but
Yep.
It just felt like a good opportunity for us to catch up on what we've been working on. Yeah, this was a long one, but I think it's great. If you really want to get in deep with what we're struggling with, this is the episode to listen to.
I'll just say like maybe some headlines off the top to know what you're getting into. We spent a long time talking about Transistor and where you personally are at with it 7 years in, which is actually really interesting to me because I feel like you shared much more about your journey in the early years.
Yeah.
And this is a nice like update because a lot of things have changed in your world on that end.
That's right.
And then on my end, I'm like just 2 weeks away from launching this new product and trying to set expectations and figure out how to get first customers and that whole storm of ideas and emotions and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, it's honestly a really good episode. Let's get into it.
Let's go.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Justin. How's it going, buddy? I feel like it's been several weeks, but I guess it's only been like 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm in a weird stage of life. I just feel like I'm currently being pulled in multiple directions at once. Not all related to business.
Okay. Well, that's like the story of my life most of the time, and something that I've been feel like I've been spending my whole career trying to solve that problem, and I still haven't cracked it. So
yeah, I mean, on my side, I'm just I went to that podcast conference. When was that even? That feels like it was 6 weeks ago, but it was probably just a few weeks ago. Yeah, that was, I got back on the 3rd. So we're at the end of the month now. So that's like 3 or 4 weeks ago. And I just spent the week after that kind of digesting and thinking and contemplating all of these, like, just trying to think strategically. Before I can think strategically, I really need to like soak in what's going on, talk to different people, just kind of evaluate what are the tectonic plates of the podcast industry kind of moving underneath us. And I put a bunch of effort into writing this blog post that was meant to crystallize my thinking. And I really wanted to get it out, and I never did.
I know that feeling.
And then,
I mean, isn't it funny how like a trip is like, because like when you're not traveling, you're just home doing the day-to-day work grind, and that can be like whatever the priority is for this week or this month.
Yeah.
And I just got back from a vacation down in Mexico last week.
Nice.
So this is like my first full week back in the office.
Yeah.
Same deal. Like a lot of strategic thinking, a little bit, it was with the family and stuff. We're at the beach and stuff, but like a lot of plane rides with a lot of thinking and a lot of note taking and like, all right, new strategy going forward. I'm going to do this year. And then now I'm back to the grind,
Yeah. I mean, I heard at some point someone said that most of a CEO's job is to think. And this is always hard to do when you're a small company or a solopreneur, but to have time to put on your thinking hat, and sometimes it can feel like a waste of time because you're not doing actively
you're not creating something,
creating things. But I just feel like it's super important.
I think that's the wrong thing. Like it's one of the most important things to do in a company is to have the person to think strategically. And there's I think that there is a lot of thought processes that only the CEO can possibly do.
Yeah.
Like decisions and new ideas that like, frankly, no one else in the company has the power to even be thinking at that level. Like, you're talking about like, well, should we think about new product or something like that? Like, someone who's not at a C level should not even really be thinking about those questions.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, it's a bonus if you have someone who's really hungry on the team that is thinking at that level and they're kind of like shaking the tree. That's a bonus, but ultimately I feel like my job is to understand this industry and have intuitions and instincts about this business that nobody else has. And
Yep.
the only way you really develop those is by spending lots of time with the customers, with the partners, with the vendors, with every kind of soaking in every element of what you're in. And it's through that experience that you kind of develop those intuitions and instincts. They could be wrong, but it's really your job to develop the best instincts that you can. And so, yeah, so I came back from that podcast movement conference just with all these thoughts and feelings rattling around my brain. But then these past 2 weeks, I basically got really involved with the upcoming federal election in Canada. There's a local candidate that I'm supporting. This is the first time I've actually really ever volunteered for politics or anything.
Oh, cool.
Freaking fascinating. Like,
that. Yeah. Talk about marketing. That's like the ultimate, like on the ground marketing, right?
I actually encourage people. Again, I'm not. I'm nonpartisan. I'm not like a vote for a party kind of guy. It's just that in this particular election, there's someone I really want to be prime minister. I think he's the best person for the job. If you're hiring for the CEO of the country, you want someone who has experience and instincts in the same way that I just talked about, being the CEO of a company.
Just a little tangent here, and I'm not trying to go political at all.
Yeah.
Believe me, I'm not. But I actually am interested in like politics and world news and everything. I'm going to try to keep it off this podcast. But I will say that the thing that I'm usually most interested in when it comes to that is the marketing side of and like the community. It's like some of the highest level of copywriting in the world is to hear these high level politicians speech writing and like how are they messaging, how are they trying to frame an argument, how are they trying to frame a benefit, like that is pure copywriting marketing. I mean,
even if you do not like a candidate or a political leader, to notice and observe which of their messages get through all of the noise and which resonate and which don't is fascinating.
It really is. Yeah.
And so it's been, but on the local level, it's surprising how I haven't had I haven't had this happen in a while where you get thrown into a group. It's almost like a group project at school. You get thrown into a group with people and it's like, whoa, like I didn't get to choose any of these people. I'm not in charge. I'm actually very low on the totem pole. And, there's definitely some people that I would absolutely work with again. And there's some people I would not work with again ever, And,
it's like you don't even know like where people are coming from, what kind of skill sets they bring to the table, like who's doing what.
And, I think we've talked about this before in terms of getting out of our bubble, like Twitter and like I'm there. Politics, especially like, we're trying to get this local candidate elected in a federal election. People of all age groups, all sorts of, like some people don't even know what Twitter is. Some people don't even have never used AI before, maybe have heard about it. I got everybody into a Slack group and that was like,
what is Slack?
That was difficult. And even those decisions are so interesting, I think, from a product perspective. It's like, there's all these emails going back and forth. And I'm like, okay, we've got to get in a Slack group here. Like, this is completely disorganized. But then I'm like, maybe it should be WhatsApp. But then WhatsApp shares everybody's numbers with each other. We can't do that. Maybe it should be Discord. But Discord, like, how are we going to get boomers to understand that? Okay. It could be Facebook messaging groups. But these days, with it, Facebook being so splintered, not everyone's on there. So it's like, what is the agnostic messaging platform that we could all get into and start trying to communicate.
It's like sad to me, but I think that like for the quote unquote normies, it's still Facebook, especially for the older crowd.
It
like,
is.
What was it? So my daughter just got accepted into like the advanced students group in her elementary school, right?
Yeah.
Like the LEAP program or whatever. And the teacher who organizes that, and it's like a small group of students who are in this program. And the communication platform between the teacher and the parents for that thing is, she's like, just join this Facebook group so that I can stay in touch. And I'm like, really? You're using a Facebook group for this? I mean,
but you got to go where you got to go. And yeah, it just gives me a perspective. It also gives me a perspective on, we talk about market saturation and like every category is saturated. And yes, it's hard to get through to quote unquote normies, but I just see so much opportunity whenever I'm thrown into a group of people not in my tech business bubble. I'm like, there is so much opportunity here.
Okay. This hits on something that I think we were chatting about a couple of weeks ago about, because I think that whole, that's like the classic bootstrappers, like greenfield, like let's build an app for some offline industry that is so behind the times in tech. There's so much opportunity here.
Yeah.
Like, okay. Yes. But I feel like I've evolved on that quite a bit. And like, I've seen how painful it is to try to sell to really low technical.
Yeah.
And this still happens with ClarityFlow. I have customers today on ClarityFlow who still fall into this category where I can like literally see how painful it is to try to sell such a straightforward, commonplace, like using all the standard patterns that we see every day in SaaS. Like so many of these patterns are still so foreign to people. Like understanding like what is a free trial? Like so the annual plan that has a discount off of the monthly plan.
Yeah.
So how does it work? If I switch from the monthly to the annual, am I going to get that discount later? Like, yes, you are. Like that's how it works. Like, you know, like just like basic stuff, you know,
dude, we deal with this podcast hosting. We deal with this all the time. We have, you know, people who we are helping them from, you know, how do I record on my Windows 95 machine? Like that level of, you know, well, do you have a microphone? Okay. You know, like we're starting from ground zero sometimes. Yeah. But about like the bootstrapper thing, like I think that there's still a lot of this, like, hey, just build an app for restaurants, which I did early in my career. Yeah.
and like it's like, okay, it's so much harder than that. Like, of course, we know that we can build a great solution for and input any offline industry here, right?
Yeah.
It's the marketing and selling that is so much harder when they are not easy to reach and easy to just communicate on like a basic level, you know?
Yes.
I mean, it's harder on the other side too, right? Like we can't just build products for ourselves because that's like a limited market, I guess. But like you gotta really have a strong inroad and personal interest. That's where I think.
Yes. Like yeah, I agree completely. Yeah. But I do think that my friend Tim Renier, good buddy, and we both had worked for this nonprofit together in our early 20s, and then we both switched. We had both always been entrepreneurs, and he started a string of businesses, including a DVD rental box company that competed with Redbox originally.
Just lost all the under 30 crowd here.
Yeah, and it's been interesting to watch his trajectory. And his thing is now they do. I'm going to get this wrong, but it's basically like warehouse automation and managing everybody's security certificates and basically like helping with warehousing and logistics. I don't really even understand it. And he did have some experience in that because he developed it while he was doing the DVD box thing. He had to get into warehousing a little bit. He had to get, and then it just kind of grew from there. So it was organic. But he always says to me, like, he's like, Justin, I just take all of the stuff you talk about and you've got your little audience of whatever, a couple thousand people or 5,000 people or whatever. And, you know, all these solopreneurs, and you're serving podcast creators and everything. I just take all of that advice and then I bring it to the biggest retailers in the world in the C-suite. They've never heard any of this stuff. This stuff is like incredible to them. The technological solutions we have, the language we use, even concepts like jobs to be done. He just brings all that stuff from our world into a world that has never really heard about it. Yeah. And, you know, he's raised a bunch of money, kind of like Jordan Gall, you know, like raised a bunch of money, going for a big home run. And, you know, they're just getting to profitability now. But that, you know, you can have a business like that.
You absolutely can. I think that it's, I think what you said there, like there were multiple steps. There's a ... that that people seem to gloss past. Like this person that you're talking about, like clearly he developed some inroads and some insider knowledge along the way that led him to say like, oh, not only is there an opportunity here, but I actually know people here that I could talk to and I can get some first sales and then I can grow the network. So it's like an active strategy. Like, you know, like you can't just like throw a dart on the wall and say like, I'm going to build a thing and start knocking on their doors.
No.
I mean, you can, people do that. It's just a lot harder than it seems, you know?
Yes. And I'm still like, I think the key is to stay curious. Part of this will depend on what stage and age you are, but I'm sure you do this too. When I'm on the chairlift and a stranger comes on, I talk to them. And that crowd is kind of interesting.
I'm the guy that doesn't talk.
Oh, you're the guy that doesn't talk. But there's something interesting about that crowd because it's self-selecting in a way. Like if you see a guy in his 50s or 60s get on the chairlift, he's got money. He's done something to get himself on the chairlift. And I love talking to those guys and go, hey, you know, are you local? Are you visiting? Interesting. Invariably, you start talking about, you know, their job or their business. And to me, those insights, it just starts to unearth stuff like, okay, like, oh, so you're in the liens search business. Like, you know, people get liens on their houses and their cars, and you scrape websites, and
there's a lot of fantastic businesses in the world that nobody knows about, you know, and they're super quiet. Like they're not like us here on like podcasting about it. It's like, you know.
So I think that I think the encouraging thing is everybody listening here has this unique tapestry of experiences that kind of define who they are, including what did your parents do for work, what industries were your family friends in, what jobs have you done in the past. You know, there's this whole combination of things that I think could be fertile ground for like, you know, I wonder, maybe I should look at that again, or it's just like every time I walk down Main Street or I go to I haven't done this in a while, but I want to start doing this again, like go to a Rotary meeting and you just look around and it's like, okay, you know, some of these people are struggling. You know, some of these businesses and categories aren't great. Some of these businesses are pretty good.
Yeah.
Like
I know, like I am always like fascinated. Like we had an electrician come to the house a couple weeks ago to fix something, and I was just like, man, this guy's got a nice little consultancy business here. Like people have a really bad pain, they're going to pay this guy thousands of dollars on the spot just because they like that seems like a really good business to be in. And like, you know, my wife has to be like, dude, you're not going to become an electrician. Like, you know? But like, okay, so how about some updates? Because what you were talking about, here we are in April of 2025. You've been in this Transistor business for how many years now? Like 5, 6?
Well, Helen, who we hired Helen just, she's our head of customer success. She just celebrated 4 years of full-time work with us.
Oh, okay. So she started 4 years ago. So you started the company, what,
2018. So
going on 7 here, right?
Yeah. So it's pretty wild.
So what is interesting to me, and like, let's bring this into like the present day, like on the ground, like what are you and I thinking about right now in our evolution, right? So like, it sounds like to me you've had a fantastic established SaaS business in Transistor, but you are starting to have the mindset of what got us here is not going to get us there, and what's the next phase?
Yeah, I mean, I think the strategic thing that I'm struggling with, and maybe this is just the way it always will be, is on one side, we have this great business that's established, that's still growing, and in so many ways, it's great. But on the other side, I see threats, and some of those concern me. These are threats that might not materialize, but again, it's kind of my job to worry about that stuff. And so it's like, okay, there are some threats. And we also, I think, have hit the natural plateau, not just for our business, but for our category. So I think, the last time we were talking to Jordan Gall, I was talking about how when we entered the industry, there was all of this available market that we could kind of gobble up really fast. But then we kind of hit the natural constraints of the market along with all of our competitors. And now the category grows 10, 15% a year. And so, I think last year we grew, it was between 15 and 20%. But so that's good. I think we're doing better than our category, but it is doubtful that we'll get to 50% year over year growth or 100% year over year growth if we stay in the category that we're in. And so, I'm debating all that because on one hand, you talk to anybody. I was just listening to Ian Landsman on the Mostly Technical podcast. He's like, every once in a while we go, okay, we got to start a new business. And he goes off and he builds it. And then it's just the same business that keeps, is still, that's the one that's making the money. And
also sometimes I think like these well-established products and brands, you do see them start to try to branch out into a second and third product that's from the same brand, but as a customer of these things, like I'm always going to think of that as the original. Like Transistor, I could see how whatever you guys sidestep into or layer on into your product line, I'm still going to think of you as a podcasting product.
I'm so curious about that. Like if you go to MailChimp's website.
Like they have.
It's like turn emails and SMS into revenue. That's actually a little bit more focused than it has been in the past.
The email marketing tools is a great example of this, right? MailChimp, I use Customer.io. I also use Kit for two different things. And you look at these things, like Customer.io wants me to use it for email, SMS. I think MailChimp does paper postcard stuff.
Yeah.
Like I'm only going to use it for email. These are email tools to me.
Yes. And sometimes the homepage can be, it's like, what is the product here? Is it, and maybe,
but that could be, I know them from the early days, whereas they are still probably reaching new customers who are just discovering, but believe it or not, there's probably new people who are just discovering what is MailChimp today. Right? Yeah. And so they're getting their idea shaped in a different way of what it is than what we know it as.
I'm so curious if this technique is actually effective. I'm just looking through different headlines for different AWeber.
Are they still in business?
AWeber's still around. But what was I got kicked into an A/B test there. Let's look Constant Contact quick. I just want to see what their headline is. Constant Contact.
And you would think that these companies, they're still going back to offline small businesses, just getting them to send a once a month email newsletter, broadcast email. There's got to be because that's all the local bakery is going to do. They're not going to have these complex.
Yeah. Like, how effective is this? Add to your bottom line, not your to-do list. Okay, that's a headline. And then it's like email, social media, and more to help your business get the attention it deserves. To me, this is so watered down. I'm like, is this working for them? Like, is it? Because in my mind, it's like,
who knows? To people like us, it's like, this is crazy. But you know what? I bet there's still a lot of people who are like small business owners who are just like, I need to do the internet thing.
Yes.
I need internet stuff for my business. I guess they do internet stuff.
I don't know. This is wild to me. Anyway, to get back to, I think, so that's part of what I'm wrestling with is and then there's also the constant pull of, you know, do we want to stay a nice, sustainable, calm business, or do we want to try to, you know, should we be more aggressive? Should we be pushing harder? Should we?
Yeah, like, would the alternative to expanding into new products would the alternative to that be like doubling or tripling down on some marketing efforts for your existing product? Right?
Yeah.
And like you said, like you're still battling like the headwind of the general wave of the category is slowing down.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, maybe you can like experiment in new ways to acquire new customers for your existing product rather than offer because I could see the argument both ways.
Yeah.
Because you could say like, well, okay, if the customer base is slowing down and the wave is slowing down, maybe we can offer an adjacent product that our existing customers will like. It's generally the rule, right? It's like it's easier to sell things to existing customers than to new customers, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is the
like
other.
What's an adjacent product that a podcaster on Transistor would want to buy?
I mean, if you talk to people in the podcasting industry, they'll say that most of the value and most of the main economic driver of podcasting is ads. And so our competitors that have decided to do bigger swings have all gone into ad tech. And so that's an option for us. There's like this asymmetric, like what's difficult to know is the amount of investment that would require. Is the investment that would require asymmetric with the most likely return that we would get?
I think with it, I really don't know much about the ad tech industry. I'm just guessing here that it's not only a huge technical lift to build whatever tooling in that space. It's also now you're dealing with ad agencies, and you're selling into enterprises that have big advertising budgets, and that's a different sales and marketing play than probably what you do now, right?
And I think that's part of what I'm trying to get at, which is I think it's easy for people outside of anybody's situation, your situation or my situation, to look at our situation and say, look at all these opportunities. Like, they're right there. But internally, one thing we wrestle with is right now we are definitely operating within our zone of genius. Like, what we've accomplished so far fits our values, fits our experiences in the world, fits our skills, fits what we're good at. And we've been able to get this far that way. And every once in a while, you can hire somebody. Like, one thing we could do, for example, is just hire somebody to go hard on sales. And that might be, we bring in this new bit of expertise, this new bit of zone of genius, and that could expand our pie. But a bet like ads is so far outside of our zone that culturally and just in terms of the operating system we run on, it would be so difficult to, and we're going to try to experiment with it and see if we can like sidestep in our own way. But I mean, so much.
Well, so I'm a Transistor user, and I don't know how close I am to the majority of your customer base in terms of what my profile is, because I don't run ads on my podcasts, right?
Yeah.
So I think about it like, if you were to stay in in the zone of like marketing to people like me. So I don't know, like maybe, I don't know if you'd call it like hobbyist podcaster or podcaster who, or like business owner who has a podcast.
Yeah.
The adjacent products or services to me look like podcast editing, maybe YouTube video related stuff.
Yeah.
And like AI, honestly, AI stuff. Like right now, I'm going heavy into YouTube, and I'm literally shopping for tools that can help me edit my videos using AI. And I feel like that's a space that, and there's been like basic versions of that.
Yeah.
But right now, I'm literally starting to see the next level of that. So like, what I'm really excited about, I didn't even realize this existed until this week.
Yeah.
I've come back to trying Descript for like the third or fourth time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have some issues with their UX and tech and stuff. But what's really exciting is that they have the ability to edit out bad takes. Not just removing ums, but when I record and I talk and I say a line 5 times, I want it to delete the 4 bad takes and keep the 1.
Yeah.
And now it actually does that. And that's huge, right? Like that is a massive time saver right there.
Yeah. We've looked at a lot of those. Like there's we're using Riverside right now. Descript has a similar, they acquired Squadcast and they have a similar tool. Man, it's just like that zone of genius thing is so like anybody
and
that
also like the script based editing, the way that Descript has it, Riverside has it now.
Yeah.
And like anything now, like I really think that the future of video editing, and you could probably say the same for podcast editing, is going, like, there's always going to be a place for like the Adobe Premieres and the Final Cut Pros, like professional level video editing software. But for the rest of us, it's script based video editing.
Yeah.
Right? Being able to,
But
like,
that's that whole category is a great example. Like that would be an awesome adjacent category for us to go into. Like it serves our existing customers. We could take, we have 30,000 plus users on Transistor. Like we have all of this available market. But when you start to investigate it and go, okay, who's in this category? How much funding do they have? What does the product require technically? And then you go through Reddit and you read, what are current users saying? And it's just like that category, that web RTC, is it web RTC world of recording in browsers, and it's just plagued with problems. It is so difficult. And even the companies that have all the money, like Riverside's editing tool, and Descript is like the best of the batch, I think, in terms of editing.
They are, and they're still very frustrating to use.
Yes.
But okay, let me take the other side of this, because I literally have a YouTube video recorded on this that I'm hoping to publish next week. I think now, in the age of AI, when it comes to product development, we can be much more ambitious than we were. Okay, like I just speaking from my own experience, for like the 4 years or so, from like I became sort of like a full stack developer around 2017, 18. So 17 to 20, I'm like making a lot of strides and growing as a developer and building a lot of new stuff. But then from like 2020 up until like 2023, 24, I really started to stagnate as a builder myself, right? Because what happened was I would shy away from trying to build things that are new and like cutting edge and in territory that I haven't built before. And I would stick to just keep on building features that I know how to build, that I can push out with Rails, like just simple CRUD stuff, because that's what I'm able to ship quickly, keep the shipping speed up, and I can ship predictably. I'm like, okay, that's a feature. I know exactly how to build that. Okay, we could ship that in a month. Good.
Yeah.
But this idea for a product that's a lot of question marks and unknowns and cutting edge and who knows what's possible, that's scary. I can't touch that. Yeah. Because it could be way too expensive, way too time consuming. Now in the AI world, we as product people can be more ambitious to go into those high unknown territories. And the reason is, you know, like using tools like Cursor and stuff, if your development team, and I'm speaking about myself here, but like when you're working with a team who really embraces this stuff, I'm not talking about like vibe coding where it's like, oh, here's a prompt, now build me a whole product. I'm talking about really embedding it in your process, because this allows me to compress the unknowns and get through those question marks much faster, right?
Yeah.
So I could use prompts to like lead the way, like give me like a version 1 of this interface or wiring this up, and show me how, like the default path on how something like this might be built, and then I can go in and fix it and shape it and like get there in 3 weeks rather than like 3 months.
Yeah.
You know, again, like, because before I would have had to spend so much time like learning on tutorials and Stack Overflow and do a simple version and then a more advanced version. And now I can just have the AI like build the first version and get halfway there and then build the rest. And it's like, oh, look at this. We're here. Now we have an ad platform. Like,
yes,
you know,
yeah. I mean, I like this idea, and I think it's something that we should think about. The pragmatist in me is still saying, like, I'm guessing Descript has at least, I'm guessing Descript and Riverside both have at least 50 people. That's my guess.
Yeah, but you could also look at that like, well, that's going to slow them down because they have so many people.
But then the pragmatist in me is going, yes, I think AI could give us a superpower as an independent. And I mean, this is what I'm telling my kids right now. Like, my kids are into filmmaking, and I'm like, this might be a great time to get into filmmaking and animation and game development, because what it used to take a whole studio to do, AI might actually be able to augment your skill and your taste. And as an indie, you might be able to.
I've been playing a lot with those video tools
compete,
this week too. Yeah.
So that's great. I think
but it's still early days.
It's still early, and so the pragmatist in me is still going, yes, maybe AI could give us superpowers, but realistically, my guess is that would still mean probably doubling our team in order to accomplish what Descript and Riverside can do. And again, maybe that's what we want to do. I think this is what's hard about strategy, is that you can feel out all the contours, and then you can have outsiders like you push a little bit, which is great. But then you got to decide, are we actually, what actually is costly is committing resources and time to anything. And
saying like, this is the direction.
If we're turning the ship, it's like even a small company like us, to turn the ship and point in a different direction is a commitment. And maybe we could say, you know what, like 6 months for us isn't a huge bet. Like, maybe we'll just go that way for 6 months, and we might decide to do that.
I mean, that's where I've been for the last 2 years. And I like what's difficult for me with that is that I've got Clarity Flow and a consulting project or two, and I've got a team member who's sort of doing most of the work there, and I direct them. But then where I'm spending 80% plus of my week is like new product development, right?
Yeah.
Trying to figure out what my next thing is. And I've been in this mode for the last 2 years of like, okay, like 2 years ago, I decided like it's time for me to explore and start building my next business, whatever that's going to be.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating to me now that I've actually spent the last 2 years trying to figure out that question. Like, I should have been shipping new products by now. Like, I'm finally like 2 weeks away from shipping like my next actual product with instrumental components. But the difficult thing that I have with that is that I'm constantly putting on the CEO hat of like strategic direction. What type of business should I be in? Who should my customer be? What's playing to my strengths? What can I build, and how long am I gonna build it? But then once I commit to any of these directions, then I'm also the product person building it. So then I'm spending the weeks and months building it. So while I'm literally looking at the screen building something, I'm also questioning like, am I spending too much time on this? Is this going to work? Is this the wrong path? Am I missing out on another path over there? Like, okay, so like this instrumental components product, which
Yeah.
is finally like 90%, like a week or two away from getting into the hands of first customers.
Yeah.
Finally. I've
Yeah.
been working on this for 6-8 months, you know?
Yeah.
But like 2 or 3 of those months in there, I took my eye off the ball to work on this like editor product and YouTube and doing a consulting project. And like, you know, like, it's just, it's so difficult. And even right now, I'm on this product that I'm 2 weeks away from launching, and I'm already thinking about like what's the product that comes after it, because I don't know what this one is going to do. Like it's just going to be to first customers. Like I don't know. Like being pulled in so many directions is a real thing. And it's so the most difficult thing is that we have to commit to a direction without complete information. Like people will talk about like, oh, you got to validate this. You talk to customers, maybe you get prepayments or whatever you want to do. You're still not going to know. Like I know that I'm probably going to get some first customers for instrumental components, right?
Yeah.
I still have this feeling like I'm going to launch this thing and it's going to be crickets and there's going to be no customers.
Yeah.
But the reality is I have emails in my inbox where people are telling me like, when are you going to release that? I want to buy it.
Yeah.
So I know I'm going to get some, but I don't know if that's going to be $500 a month or 5,000 or 15K a month, or how long is it going to take to get to that sort of level with this one product? Like, or is it destined to just be a $500 a month product and it's just a little side thing and I'm going to need to move on to more products? Like, I don't know. I have no idea, but like, all I know is like, I need to like get it out.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's the first step for sure. And yeah, there's so many hard questions there. Like you could release it and it could do $500, but the correct answer, if you could look through your time machine, is actually to get it up to 20 grand a month. What you need to do is go to every Rails event. And so it's hard to know what path to take too. It's like, what do I, like if I've released something and it didn't do, I was hoping for this, but it did this. What do I do with that information? Do I, and there's so many directions you could go.
And it's also like, what am I looking for in a business that I decide to do?
Yeah.
Right. I've also made the decision that like, I'm not all in on anything.
Yeah.
Like my assumption is like nothing is going to be a rocket ship out of the gate. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm not willing to go into debt for any business. I'm not looking to get outside investment for any business. I'm self-funding.
Yeah. So
like even this product, instrumental components, like, yeah, I might go to some conferences here and there, but like, I'm not gonna be like going like all in on like this thing must be the be all end all. I'm not like, I don't expect to create like the tailwind of the Rails space or whatever, you know, like the live wire of the Rails space. Like, it's just a thing that like people on my list might like it, and hopefully they'll talk about it and it'll spread, and I'm going to demonstrate it through my product work and YouTube.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like,
I think that is the right answer. Like, there's so much nuance to all of this because part of the right answer is to do as much pre-work as you can to go, you know, is this a category or an opportunity that is worth a further look, right? Like there's some things that you can just do a bit of research. You can call up some people that you know in the industry. You know, Jordan just went through this. He was considering a bunch of different opportunities. And he did the legwork beforehand. He called a bunch of people up. He investigated. He tried things out in a very limited way. And then he's like, nope. This one, like Rosie, seems like the best of the options.
I think that there's a difference in my mindset at this stage of my career. Whereas a few years ago, I was more like the way that Jordan is thinking, and there's nothing wrong. This is like this is what a really great entrepreneur does. Someone like Jordan, where it's like just kind of looking at the open landscape, like where is the best opportunity to maximize the return on the investment of this company. Right?
Yeah.
And I think he made a brilliant decision to pivot into Rosie and following this wave of AI with voice and everything. I'm more at this stage where I'm more assessing my own personal assets and strengths and what best aligns with what I have to offer. And which can be really tough, but also like, so like the way that I think about it is like, I've been building with Rails. I spin up products all the time with Rails. Instrumental components is my system to make that extremely fast and efficient and high quality and all that. But then I'm also thinking about like next products. Like I think right now I'm thinking like I'm going to get more back into like teaching how to build, how to code, how to expand to be a full stack product designer, developer.
Yeah.
Rails is my tool of choice for that. So that, and building with AI is another, discipline that I'm developing for myself that I think I should be teaching people how to grow. And like, so these are assets and strengths that I have, because I can build, I can design and develop, and I can teach, and I can do video content. Yeah. And like, how do I merge these things into a creator-led type of business? Yeah.
Yeah.
And also like thinking about like waves, like I really do think that the combination of AI and building with AI is a direction, but then also the idea that like not anyone, but like more people than just programmers are becoming and will be becoming full stack product people. So like I'm thinking specifically like I should be making content that teaches designers how to become full stack and teaches marketers how to become full stack. And because I feel like I'm qualified to do that, and I have the tools and resources to do that. And I think that there is a wave of like, you're already seeing it with the quote unquote vibe coders. And before that we saw it with like the no coders, right? Like these are non full stack people who want to become some level of full stack. And I think that wave is just going to increase. So I'm thinking about like, I feel like I could help people in this way, and it can fit what I'm going for my business. So I don't know.
I had a bunch of thoughts while you're talking. The first is I do think the approach, like, I had this podcast called Mega Maker where I made 100 things in a year, and I think that was too much. And I kind of wrote postmortems on, that was probably a mistake. But the other thing is I grew a ton during that time, and it actually did lead to where I am today. I think the idea of sequentially trying things out, like one project at a time, not 100, but maybe a good creator and product person who's still exploring could do 5 to 10 a year. And it's like, so you've got, how come I just forgot it? The components. You're working on the components.
Yeah, instrumental components.
Instrumental components. So it makes sense to scope that out, get that done as quickly as possible, not get too distracted, and get it out. Right? That makes sense. And, even like me, I'm thinking about like, maybe do I want to get back into making content? And it does seem like the best way to get back into making content is just to be publishing more often. But along with that, there is, I think growing older and hopefully getting wiser, I think at the beginning when you're evaluating opportunities, there are some opportunities that just have the smell or the look of a smaller opportunity. Yeah. Like a good example is this like Swag Fan app that I built with this college graduate. To me, it was something I wanted, but it just, from the beginning, I just kind of knew it has this feeling.
Like there's not a huge market.
There's not a huge market here.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of how I think about these components. Like, I don't know, how large is Rails really? I think it's somewhat large, but it's not like Laravel. It's not like it's certainly not like Next.js and all
or
this
React
stuff.
or yeah.
React, yeah. And also like how willing are people in this space to pay? And I'm constantly asking people on my list for early access about that. Like, what is this price? How does that land with you?
Yeah.
And some are great, and some are like, no, I don't like.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, and I'm going into this thinking like there probably isn't a huge market here. So I think that this is a smallish revenue product on its own. But I also see it as it is a tool that's like leveraging my byproducts, right? So like this came out of building a lot of Rails apps. I'm going to continue to build Rails apps using it. And going forward, I have like a list of app ideas, and these are actual product ideas, but I'm thinking of them less like business opportunities and more like teaching material, right? Like there's 4 or 5 things on my list that I want to build, which would be really great apps for me to build using instrumental components and show that work on YouTube or use it as case studies for teaching people how to build stuff. And yeah, release it as like a tiny app in a portfolio. But like I'm also at my stage and my age and my degree of burnout from the SaaS game for the last 20 years. I'm also like, I don't think I'm going to, or I can't expect to find a traditional SaaS application that's just going to dominate and grow like a weed, you know, like I'm open to non-SaaS ideas at this point. Like we talked about this in the early episodes of this show where it's like, I think that the SaaS opportunity, it's still there, but like, that's why I'm much more open to ideas of like a components product and an educational product and investing in YouTube as like putting those things together as like cobbling together the next business for the next couple of years for me. You know? I think out of those something else could grow that I can't really predict right now.
Yeah.
But like in terms of like this is another thing that I've been thinking a lot about is like the only things I ever really want at this point in my career are, you know, good, comfortable, like financial freedom and like time freedom. And what that essentially means is a product or a couple of products that are detached from my time. So I already have at least like half of that with Clarity Flow and trying to add on with components and some new products. And I'm trying, like I'm doing some consulting, some MVP consulting projects, but I'm hoping to phase that stuff out. And then the other thing is just to be building and creating good stuff, right? Yeah. So if that's the North Star, all I just need to focus on is like doing things this month that that put me in motion toward that.
Yes.
Right? Like I don't know if the things that I'm building this month are going to be the be all end all, but just shipping the components product and making the next YouTube video. These are things that like point me in that direction. Yes.
Yeah. I think that could be a good approach. Like if I sold Transistor or Transistor crashed for some reason and I had to go do something else, I think, you know, part of what I would be doing is just wanting to get in motion, doing something, releasing something, because of when we look at all of our friends, that's what happened. You know, Adam was doing live streams and he's trying to build his own SaaS, but then people see how he's writing CSS and then he's like, oh, you know, I got to focus on this thing. This is what is resonating. So by putting things out there, you can get a sense for what might resonate. And I also like to think about what evidence is there out there that this is an actual opportunity where people are already in motion. And so like when I was considering Transistor, I talked to Ruben Gamez and he said, you know, this market, we kind of looked at the market together and he's like, this market really feels like the website hosting market, which is this nice, mature, established category. And you're this nice little niche subset of that. And so we can kind of look at the trajectory of that. You can kind of look at other entrepreneurs who have done it, like Jason Cohen with WP Engine. and they can kind of be your muse in terms of what's the opportunity here? What techniques could we, a big reason we went into affiliates early was because I'd seen how it had worked in the web hosting space. So being able to see an example of, where it's working and then really delving into like, what does that really look like? Like, is Jason Cohen's life super shitty? Because that category is just hell. I could look into competitors. I could listen to all their podcasts. I could really try on that opportunity as much as I could before we jumped in, and to think about it like, okay, I have a pretty good sense of what I'm getting into, and I have a pretty good sense on like other people have done this and have had success, and I think I could apply some of that and follow some of that here in this space.
It's interesting that you say that, because like this is another one of those things that this is starting to get a little bit like personal mindset for me, where like I feel like I spent so many years observing and personally knowing, being friends with like successful SaaS founders, right?
Yeah.
And having an up close, like front row seat to literally seeing people go from like pre-idea to launching to hugely successful SaaS business to exit. I've seen that cycle multiple times with people up close, right? And embedding myself in this community and circles of friends and founders. And so I think that's had a huge influence, like exactly what you're saying, like just looking to friends and mentors and examples as like, this is a model, this is a path that I'm sure mine won't be exactly like that, but that's a picture of what could happen if I invest my time in this type of direction.
Yeah.
And I feel like this year, I'm again, like this is like an age thing. This is like a mental development thing where it's like, and we've been talking about like business is so personal. At a certain point, like I'm trying to be in touch with like what makes me different, what makes what I have to contribute different from most people, because ultimately that's the thing that people who do follow me and do read every email and do listen to every podcast, like that's what they're connecting with, right? Especially if you're going hard on YouTube, like the thing that people can talk all day about thumbnail images and like, you got to have a title that hits, and you got to follow these analytics tools. But at the end of the day, the channels that win are the ones that are unique, and people connect with them because they're different in some way.
Yeah.
So like for me personally, like that's sort of where I'm at in this whole career game. And how do I operate with that? Right. Like, yeah, I'm trying to stay in touch with like, what do I have to offer? But also like, who can I connect with? Trying to get back to like, who is the target customer, and what can I sell them that aligns with what I'm doing?
Yeah.
it's such a mental pretzel.
Yes,
that you gotta put yourself in.
I still think that some of that. So, for example, as you were talking, the brand that came to mind around instrumental components was Telerik. Are you familiar with or Telerik? TELERIK.com, who've just made an entire. They've been around forever, and I became familiar with them when I was working for a startup that used .NET, and so we would use Telerik or Telerik components.
Modern. Yep.
And I think for you to look at someone like them is helpful, because you go, okay, like we could put Telerik into Ahrefs right now and just see where are they getting their traffic from, what keywords are they targeting, and it's also just an example of a product like the one you're building, who's been around forever, and you could just see like, oh, okay, well, in some ways this is encouraging, because I can see like, this is what they're charging. They're charging, $1,300 a year. Yeah. And
the thing that I'm seeing in the Rails space, there's a few things, is that like, first of all, like Rails gets if like there's one big like objection to why people don't choose Rails if they're choosing a stack to get into, it's because of the lack of UI components libraries and like app starter kits compared to other stacks. Like you see them all over with Laravel and React. There's a ton of them, right? And then a Tailwind UI is like Adam's product is a huge. There's so many users, and I have survey after survey for early access list people for instrumental products who say they bought Tailwind UI. And they have a hard time porting it into Rails.
Yeah.
Everyone, because I did the same thing, right? Like they have you can get or like Shad CN or whatever. Like there are these really popular just front end UI, just the HTML and CSS or Tailwind stuff, but to wire it up into Rails controllers and stimulus controllers and building out actual components that work with Rails and Turbo and stuff, like there isn't much of that. And then in the Rails space, you've got like Jumpstart with Chris Oliver, you've got Bullet Train, which has been around for a long time, but beyond that, there's not a whole lot.
Yeah.
Right. And then Rails itself is not like it's similar to Laravel in the overall MVC structure.
Yeah.
But it's so much more stripped down compared to Laravel. Whereas like Rails alone, like just the core Rails new, you're not getting much in terms of like UI. Like you really you're on your own to make this thing ready for prime time.
Yeah.
And that's like the hit on the Rails space. And I feel like that's what is resonating in the surveys and the emails that I talk to people about. There's still the open question of like, I don't know how big this market is. I don't know how I would really reach them unless I get more involved in the Ruby conferences and the Rails conferences and the podcasts and stuff. Because like, I also think that like I'm personally not very well known. Like I know a few builders in those spaces and I know Chris Oliver and like some people, but like I'm much more known in the microconf space than the Ruby and Rails space.
Yeah.
These things overlap a little bit, but like,
Yeah.
So
I mean, what I like about stuff like this is what I would be curious about with Telerik. For example, I would go on Twitter and I would ask, hey, any .NET shops out there currently using Telerik? Could you just let me know which components you're using? Because that's what's interesting is in the .NET world, and I also kind of like .NET because it's old and crusty, but like PHP and honestly like Rails now, it's like old and crusty. It's been built into dozens of products. And there's all of these, little software companies, little internal software tools where the developers are like, okay, their go-to is Telerik. Like we need some components. They've been using them forever, and it's like.
This might be interesting let me show the website and then the survey. Cause I like what you're saying, like these questions, like asking people what they use. That's what I put on the survey. All right. So like, this is the homepage right now. Or this is like sort of like the landing page for instrumental components. You hit any link, any button on here. It's going to give you this coming soon. So this is where I'm like sending people. I'm getting a lot of leads, mostly from YouTube at this point.
Okay.
They're coming in here and then, so they put their email address in and then they get to my survey. And
this is good.
So a few hundred like responses on this. I'm asking like, what do you do? What's your business? What's your role? Have you purchased one of these libraries before? Which ones? So this is where I'm seeing people type in Tailwind UI, like Shad CN, sometimes like Jumpstart, sometimes Bullet Train, stuff like that. What do the best component products get right? What do you find frustrating or missing from most of these? Any specific examples would be helpful. What I'm learning with those, which is obvious, like documentation is a big one. Like you've got to have like really good docs. You've got to have really good examples of how to port it in. So I'm asking a little bit about how I should be structuring it as a starter kit or individual components. I'm trying to get like at their why, like what's driving you to use components instead of just building stuff yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing a lot about like the speed benefit is one, like just getting from 0 to 1 a lot faster. The other one is I'm hearing a lot of people are like, well, I'm really strong with back end, but I'm terrible with front end design. And I look to these components to fill that gap. And then here I'm sort of just like validating that you actually are in this space and like this is your stack. A little bit more of the same questions here. This one is like, how did you hear about it? And I'm hearing a lot of people like type in YouTube. Any questions or requests? I get some. And then here, so I'm not sharing what the pricing is yet, but I'm asking people like, I'm 90% certain that I will be a customer, or I'm 50-50, or I don't think. So I'm seeing like 50-50 between 99% and I'm 50-50.
Okay.
Right. And so then when they say that, then it's like, can you say more about this?
That's a great question, by the way.
They say, I'm trying to like just think anecdotally, like most of them are saying like without again, they don't see the price point yet. So I don't, even if they say 99%, like I don't know if they're actually, because they don't know how much it is yet. But some of them are like, I can clearly see like they're from a business and they're like, well, I don't care. I'm just going to use my business credit card on this. It'll be great.
Yeah.
Some of them are like, I hope it'll be free. Some of them are like, and like everything in between. And then they enter their info, and then I get into like an email back and forth with most of them, So
yeah,
marketer Justin, what do you think?
I mean, I think that's great. Do you have a question in there about what's their role in the business? Yeah, I think that's
and that's been interesting too. I'm trying to get a sense of, and I still need to learn more. Is like, are you a solo builder? So I'm definitely seeing some people who are like, yeah, I've got a side project for this, and I'm getting emails now like, hey, when are you launching that? Because I want to spin up a new side project next month. Is it going to be ready? And then I have others who are like, I work in a company and we're going to use this in our company. I'm seeing sort of a mix of both.
Here's what I'm interested in as a marketer that I'm always curious about. And maybe you could add this as a follow-up question to your waiting list. And I don't know how you structure it exactly, but it's like, can you tell me about a moment in Slack or in a meeting where your dev team made a decision to buy and use a web component? And that is fascinating to me.
That moment,
is what is going on. And the reason I thought of Telerik is there was just so many examples. And I quickly looked at their backlinks and their top keywords. And Telerik reporting is one of their top keywords. And React date picker is another one. There's some common ones here that I think it's interesting. And I just remember being in those meetings as a product manager, and it's like, okay, we got to build this feature in this .NET. It's a MVC application, web application. How are we going to get reports in here? And it's like, okay, well, our options are this and this. And at the time, Telerik, and it was just like, we'd already used Telerik before. We had their components already. And it's like, okay, how much is it going to cost? Yes, let's do that because we have a problem to solve. We're trying to make progress.
I think this is also like the type of, what I'm seeing with some of these responses is like what you're saying, like, is the moment like you're in a meeting and like, and a manager says, we need to buy this, we need to find a solution for that. I think this type of product is a little bit more bottom up, where it's the developer, it's the lower level developer, or maybe like a CTO type person, but like they're the ones who would be more on the ground and be aware of this, and then they'll use their company credit card to pay for it or something like that. Like
I think both parts of the conversation are interesting though, because in this case, so I'm product manager for this company called Mailout Interactive, and we're building a new feature. It's an email newsletter application. And I'm as product manager, I'm saying, okay, the next feature we're building is this. Let's start to shape this and figure out how we're going to deliver it. And it's the developer that's going, oh, well, we'll probably have to look at some Telerik components for this. So they have the Telerik components top of mind. Although the next time as a product manager, the next time I'm in those conversations, I'm already looking in Telerik's library and going, okay, what
Yeah.
are
They
there
have it, so you can just build it, right?
yeah, are there things we can use here, and I'm demoing them, and so I think both parts of that conversation are interesting.
Yeah.
But what really matters is who's, and I think especially who this is for is fascinating. It feels like there's just so, like, if we could see Adam Wathan's customer list, or Caleb Porzio's
Yo, Adam. Let me see your customer list.
Caleb Porzio's customer list. And I mean, sometimes I've asked them that. I have this feeling that, yeah, the top of the funnel is just awareness amongst web developers. Like,
yeah.
Oh, I got a new project. The boss is asking me to do this. It's like, of course, I'm going to go to Tailwind UI first. That's part of it. And I mean, even that's
this is like a
interesting.
This is like a marketing exposure question that I think that I still struggle with today. And I feel like it's even harder today than it was a couple of years back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that, like, I hate being that guy who wants to do the podcast tour to promote my new product.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with Twitter. Like, hey, everyone, like, I'm launching this thing, and you're so much better at this than I am. But I also think that there's like this is not as effective as it used to be. People don't want you to be a guest on their podcast just to promote your new product. Like,
Yeah.
There has to be a unique story or something notable, something noteworthy.
Yeah.
That's worth talking about. Like it has to be more like, look, the way to build stuff today is to build with components. Here's what it means to build with components.
Yes.
Like, another interesting thing to me now is like building with AI, and the fact that instrumental components are designed in a very Rails native way. It makes your code base very readable by AI. So you can plug in instrumental components, and the AI already knows how instrumental components works because it's designed in the Rails way of doing things. It's not inventing new conventions that only our docs know about, right? Like, it's
that's a compelling narrative. The thing that I think I would be doing is I would be looking at the people who have achieved success in this world. How have they done it? And there are different paths. Like, I think one of the reasons Caleb succeeded is that he was just this passionate demo person. He would close himself in his closet and go, people, I'm just so excited about this. I got to show you. And that excitement was contagious, and that helped him to get above the high water mark. And
I think this is what I struggle with that, right? Like, Caleb and Adam, even to like a larger extent, right? Like, they have huge audiences, and they won those audiences through just doing awesome shit, right?
Yeah.
Like, they deserve all of that attention for the work that they do.
Yeah.
I feel like me and most other people just don't have that advantage built in. And I do build in public. I share videos of what I'm building. They just don't hit the same way, and they don't have the same reach that someone like Adam or Caleb does. And I've accepted that a long time ago, you know?
Yeah. I mean,
so it's like I'll still do my thing, but how do the rest of us get out there without like nagging at the arms of the podcasters or the community owners to say, hey, can I plug my product here?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I think is interesting about, I mean, to a certain extent, Taylor Otwell, I think a lot of his traction did come through documentation, just kind of community level engagement, mostly, you know, for the first, I'm guessing 5 years of his career. He wasn't on video that much. He wasn't in podcasts that much, and he wasn't doing that many talks, right? It was just like him developing the docs, engaging in community forums, you know, submitting stuff to Hacker News. So I think there are other ways of doing that, although he eventually developed a great kind of Steve Jobs showmanship for the things he was releasing.
Yeah.
But that I think came organically.
And also, I think Taylor is a great example. Same thing with Adam and Caleb. Like all three of them, yes, they were out there showing the work that they were doing
Mm-hmm.
and doing these like marketing, social media tactics.
Mm-hmm.
But underneath all that, they followed their personal intuition into a space
Yeah.
and said, like, there is a problem here and there is no good solution. When Taylor built Laravel didn't exist.
Yes.
There was no framework in the PHP space to build something like what you can do with Laravel. And CSS.
I mean, that's not exactly true. There was Symfony.
Yeah.
There was.
Yeah, of course. But like, I don't know, like same thing with Rails and same thing. And like, it's just like he saw a new and better way of doing it.
Yeah.
Right. And Adam completely flipped the whole concept of like CSS on its head, you know, with Tailwind, right?
Yeah.
And that didn't happen overnight. Like he was just like, yeah, it's a tool for myself to make it easier. And like, because why is dealing with all these style sheets so damn hard, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like this product. Yes, they did marketing things. Yes, they do social media and video and tweets, but they also just followed their gut to say like, there is a need here. And I'm scratching my own itch here because I'm seeing it. I'm building it. Like, I don't care if anyone else buys it. I want this damn thing. So I'm going to build it. And I think that authenticity is actually what leads to the audience, right? It's like that authenticity and you're nailing a problem that is actually really painful with other people too, in this really authentic way. Like you can't even predict that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
my guess
like,
is it's probably both. And it's like, you can, if you nail it, like nailing it, I think means there are people out there actively looking for a solution or that could actively use a solution. And, once they hear about your solution, they're like, yes, that's it. That's kind of nailing product market fit. But you still have to have a way of reaching them. Like you have to have some sort of strategy. And you can, I think what's instructive, I realize it can also be like debilitating sometimes to look at other people's success. But for me, what's always been instructive about it is to go, okay, well, how did they get that distribution? And you can just see like Adam and Caleb, to a certain extent, kind of rode on the distribution channel that Taylor created. And Taylor created that distribution channel by being very early, by investing a ton in documentation, by investing a ton in being in GitHub and answering all the pull requests and just being a grinder. And that ended up having this huge SEO benefit, and it just reverberated through the community.
Thing off the screen here.
So I mean, it would also be interesting to know, like dig into the Telerik story and go, okay, how did they accomplish it? And I think they're from India. And my guess is that they just, there was a lot of .NET shops that had developers in India, and Telerik got the word out amongst all those developers in India, and then it just became their go-to. And then, the companies started buying it. So I think you have to think about both. And it's like, you can have something that nails product market fit, but the challenging part, as you know, can be like, okay, how am I going to get distribution for this?
Yeah.
And
the way that I think about that today, like, and like, because this is where I try to think about like what plays to my strengths and where because I've tried to do the more strategic thing in the past where it's like, all right, let me just throw some dollars at this and that channel, and because this has worked for that company and that has worked for this company, and yeah, like there's always like SEO motions that I'll always do, and but for me now, that's why I'm going like kind of all in on YouTube, because that's a place where I can just create and show and be opinionated and be like, I'm building things in this way and I'm using these components in this way. and here's why I'm building this, and here's me teaching you my way of building stuff. And that's why, and I feel like today in 2025, YouTube is one of the only platforms left that like truly connects using their algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
That's why like places like Twitter and I don't know, like trying to get myself invited on stage at random conferences to speak or whatever, like I could hope for those kind of opportunities, but it's not a predictable thing that I can just go do.
Yeah.
But a thing that I can control is creating and publishing videos every week.
Yeah.
And the better and better I can get at that, the better YouTube's algorithm is going to deliver that to the right people.
Yeah.
You know,
I think YouTube's one. I think the other opportunity is, which should be right up your alley, is ChatGPT, like SEO for ChatGPT. I'm seeing a lot more of that. It's probably still like 20-30% of new signups at most, but it's there.
I'm starting to see some of that come through with Clarity Flow. You know, like we've been on Google, and now we're getting some ChatGPT leads.
And the nice thing with the new web search in ChatGPT, so I just asked it if I wanted web components, UI, etc. for Rails, similar to Flux for Laravel, which option should I look at? And I used the web search, so it actually gives me the sources. And so Rails Designer UI components, railsui.com, railselements.com. I'm shoelace.style, Tailwind UI. The nice thing is I can see what sources they're referencing here. So Rails Designer is one, railselements.com is another, dev.to, like the dev community. And
a little plug for Noah Toa, the new app from Ryan Castillo and Buckby. I helped them build the MVP for that. Through my MVP service.
And that's exactly kind of what
it's like an Ahrefs for AI tools. It's like you could see where your standing is in all the AI tools. It's
yes.
cool.
But this is something you could be doing right now is I'm looking at the list of sources here on the right, and here I'll share my screen quick just so folks on YouTube can see it. But for those of you listening, hold on. Oh, sorry. This is bad radio. So I just asked the question up here, and then on the right, you have all the citations. So if I was you, I'd be getting really involved in the dev community. I'd be getting really involved in Reddit, GitHub.
I hate that advice. I hate this advice. And
YouTube.
I know, and like you're so right about it.
Yeah.
But I hate the thing of like just go into communities and answer a lot of questions all the time and plug your product and be a Redditor and like so I hate that. I hate that answer, and it's true.
But the option for you is like either you do it or you find someone that likes to do it.
Yeah.
And that's possible too. Like Ahrefs has Tim Sulo or whatever. Like he's like the face of Ahrefs, but he's not.
Isn't he the founder?
I don't think he's the founder.
No, I thought he is.
I don't know. Let's just check.
Ahrefs.
Let's just check real time here.
Oh no, it's some other guy.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that. I always thought it was the Tim guy.
Yes. So this is my point: is that you might be able to find a partner or a hire that can do that for you. You might be able to find an amazing affiliate, like reach out to Chris Oliver and say, listen, like I want this thing to do well.
A little tricky since he has a competing product.
Oh yeah. Okay. Don't reach out to him. I just like, there's these opportunities that are in some people's zone of genius. I think I told this story, like Michael, who's on our customer success team, came into my office and said, hey, I just feel like I need to be doing more. And he said, I have this crazy idea. It's probably dumb, but what if we put a Zoom link on every welcome email we ever sent to people and got people to book calls with me? And I just onboarded anybody who wanted to do a Zoom call. I said, that sounds incredible. Like, let's do that. I don't want to do that. But if you're fired up about doing it. So
that sounds like a great idea for you to do.
That sounds like a great idea for you to do. But there might be someone out there that's like a real Reddit a real Reddit gremlin.
I have heard of some companies doing this, like hiring someone to be like the community engager person. You know, yeah, it does exist. Yeah.
And some of us, like, I just love trolling Reddit and like not trolling, but trolling, like, trawling. Like I'm fishing, you know, trawling Reddit and Hacker News. And, you know, I just searched Hacker News for Rails web components just to see what's coming up, what are the discussion. You know, that to me is, I think, where you'd have to play if you want to get both the, what are we calling LLM SEO, whatever that is. And the nice thing is that all of those investments actually just give you good SEO as well.
Yep.
And
the SEO thing, I mean, this is like another whole podcast, but like, I don't even know how to really optimize for LLMs, but in the one thing that has started to work for us in Clarity Flow when it comes to SEO is like totally simplifying down, like forget like articles every week and like long tail, all that nonsense. Like we just focused on like the homepage and time on site. Yeah. And like our traffic grew, we got onto page 1.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that is a pointer that in general, Google, and you could probably say the same thing about LLMs. And I think you can probably say the same thing about just people and markets in general. It's like simplifying. It's like good products that are worth talking about and worth recommending and align with people's buying intent. They're going to get you to the homepage. The idea of like gaming the system anymore with like long tail keywords that maybe ... eventually they'll become a customer. Like, I feel like that game is behind us. And now it's just like, it's competitive, but if you have a good product in a good space that solves a problem and you can reach those people, like, that's how you play.
Yeah, I think that we're still writing articles, but we're trying to make them useful. Like, we're going to have a how to start a podcast article because we want to have our version of that is the most useful thing that we can have. Yep. And I mean, I
just remember like hiring SEO consultant after SEO consultant who told us to write fluff articles that list like our top 10 competitors and put us at number 1, or, you know, us versus 2 other popular competitors, or, you know, this, and like none of that worked. Yeah. It never worked, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah.
The nice thing about the ChatGPT optimization is it's showing you its sources now. Like, we can look at all the citations, and that's where it's grabbing this stuff from. So if you want to rank in ChatGPT, that's what you got to go after.
All right, I want to come back to you, Justin, like maybe to start to wrap this up. But like you said, you might get into some new products. You said you might do like thinking big picture about Transistor. But what is like on the ground for the month of May and June? Like, what are you doing next? How are you going to move this decision forward? Or
there's some stuff in motion, like we are experimenting building a kind of substantial new version of dynamic ad insertion that would
you are going after ads.
Could be attractive. I mean, we're going to try it. So most of our customers are hobbyists that don't use ads. That's one way to look at the market. But then we have a few customers that have lots of downloads, and those downloads are monetizable. And so there's 2 ways of looking at inventory or available.
That is the really cool thing about the dynamic ad insertion thing. Yeah. You can monetize your early episodes.
But we're not going to go full tilt into it. We're going to test out the water and see if that's what we want to do. The big thing we're releasing right now is sales tax compliance UI.
Exciting.
So once that's done, there's like some bigger things that we're like investigating, and then we have some smaller features that are more customer facing that we want to get out, that we just know are nice line drives, like a new podcast website theme.
How many developers now besides John?
John and Jason are kind of the primary like product engineers, and then Josh splits his time between the marketing kind of engineering side and working on the marketing site, and the product side. So right now, Josh has built the last 3 of the website templates for podcast websites, but basically 3 people.
I love it.
Yeah.
Like, you guys have such a lean team for the size and maturity of your company. It's awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, I think this was an interesting one. We should definitely wind it down.
It's going long.
We gone long, but yeah, if folks like this, let us know through all the channels.
Yeah, we'll have to rope in another friend for the next episode.
Yeah, if you're a friend listening to this and you want to get on the next episode, let us know.
Yeah, and maybe do it like in the morning of a Thursday, and maybe you'll get on that day.
That's right. We record on Thursdays, so if you want to get on, let us know.